It will soon be ready and right on time for the European Athletics Championships in Zurich and the Weltklasse Zurich meeting to be held this August. The new track at the Letzigrund Stadium. And he will also be there for the Weltklasse Zurich meeting. The world's fastest man, Usain Bolt. For athletes such as Bolt, the new track will provide a legal boost to performance, with the technical advancements of the new surface enabling them to run even faster. Time will tell whether the Letzigrund's new track has the potential to produce world records. Our cameras were there to capture the all-important tests of the track's magic. Zurich Letzigrund Stadium. Specialists set to work on the retopping operation. The track's facelift, costing some 800,000 Swiss francs, will not make it any more beautiful, but will make it faster. Zurich wants its track to regain its magic, with the venue's legendary reputation having faded somewhat in recent years. Powell 977, the women's Olympic champion, wins world record. And Reynolds completes the circuit in 43:30. World record, and what a world record! 25 world records. For decades, the Letzigrund Stadium was a guarantee for producing top performances and new records. However, the last record-breaking performance is now 5 years in the past. And this was not so much a case of sprinting, but rather jumping. Yes, she's cleared it. World record. All the same, this record is still to be broken. To ensure the return of record-breaking times to the venue, a proven all-rounder is to be used as part of a secret recipe: polyurethane, a base material for car seats and kitchen sponges, as well as condoms, or in this case, athletics tracks. Following the application of 2 different layers and mixtures, the new surface will dry within 24 hours to produce a first-class track. In athletics, the search for records requires an innovator. This race has 2, Jürgen Wiedler and Patrick Magyar. The former is the meeting director of Weltklasse Zurich, while the latter is head of technology at the Schaffhausen-based track manufacturer Konica. The 2 industry giants do not like talking of records, but they both need them, don't they? Of course, certain requirements have to be in place in order to produce a super-fast facility that enables athletes to improve their performances. For most athletes, the emphasis is much more on personal best performances rather than actual records. It's for this reason that we've developed this fast track to produce records here in Zurich and elsewhere. German Sport University, Cologne. Together with Professor Gerd Peter Bruggemann, one of the world's most renowned movement scientists, Konica used 3D analysis and force plates to see what the surface prototype really has to offer. At this point, the surface was still simply the product of chemical formulas, even if there was a clear concept and logic behind them. As part of a retopping process, an initial 4 mm thin cushioning layer is applied to the existing track. This layer contains small air bubbles, which are compressed upon being stepped on, but which expand again immediately, giving back the runner part of the energy exerted. After this layer has hardened, the second step in the process sees the application of a 3 mm area elastic top layer. This material is considerably harder and should allow the athletes to propel themselves forwards in a much quicker and more stable manner during the start phase, as well as when accelerating. It's not unusual for theory and practice to diverge. However, the initial measurements in the sports laboratory already showed that the surface optimally meets the 2 key criteria for ensuring quick sprints: low energy loss with optimal stability. In other words, exactly what Konica had hoped to produce during its development work. What's more, there was no shift in the surface, meaning that the force applied to the track by the athletes will effectively be used to drive them forwards, with no delay and without pointlessly surrendering energy to the surface. This marathon of checks continued in the testing machine. During the sprints in the laboratory, the athletes exerted 4 times their body weight on the measuring plates, with their spikes digging 4 mm into the track. Using these benchmark figures, starts, rates of acceleration and top speeds were simulated umpteen times. The extent to which the surface becomes deformed was also measured. The Schaffhausen-produced synthetic surface also comfortably stood up to this endurance test. The interesting thing is that the new surface loses 10% less energy than the old surfaces. From our point of view, this is of course a significant advantage. However, the Cologne-based biomechanists also identified a further unexpected fact during the tests. Sprinters first need to learn how to master the hard upper layer of the new surface. After all, the new surface is like a Formula One racing machine compared to a small car. Men apply far greater force and weight to the track than women, and thus have a clear advantage. We believe that for slightly lighter athletes in particular, it would be advisable to use footwear with sharper spikes. The length is specified, but sharper spikes are more advantageous to lightweight runners, relative to blunter and heftier spikes. It would, however, also certainly not be a mistake for heavier athletes to use more pointed and sharper spikes in order to better exploit the effects of the surface. Nevertheless, the final piece in the jigsaw was still missing for the sports scientists in Cologne, an endurance test under real conditions. Konica installed the first strips of the new bright red track in the warm-up tunnel of the Letzigrund stadium. In the spotlight, top Swiss athletes such as Lisa Urech and Mujinga Kambunji. What effect would they feel on the new surface compared to the old track? How would their accustomed running behavior change? At the moment, I feel a little more comfortable on the blue track. I have the feeling that there's a little more power transmission, or yes, your momentum is somehow different. With the red surface, you get less response from the track. The red surface is also definitely harder than the blue surface. It really is a new experience. I've never run on a track like this before. It's certainly very different. Biomechanist Professor Bruggemann had expected that running on the new surface would be a challenge. The test showed, however, that athletes, upon getting to grips with the new track, benefit from a further effect in addition to greater speed. Ankle and knee joints are far more rigid and stable during sprints, having the obvious benefit that in addition to ensuring less energy is wasted, tendons and muscles are also spared. This surface even allows for these, I would say, unpleasant and damaging sideways and tipping movements to be reduced. I think we can assume, at least where sprinting is concerned, that the risk will not increase, but rather that the movements of the athletes will be more controlled, reducing the risk of them putting excessive strain on their joints. 39 days to go until the first competition. Everything points to Zurich's track having rediscovered its magic. A real success story just in time for the European Championships and the Weltklasse Zurich meeting at the Letzigrund Stadium. Being magic means having something before others have it, and this could now be a step towards reviving the magic of the Letzigrund track, leading people to say, running here is really something special. Sets a new world record here. That's the world record. Look what a world record that is. World record, Moses Kiptanui. That's quite simply sensational.